Welcome back to the Scallywags. Marine Tech Mike here. Going to go on a little bit of a boat tour today on this beautiful Northern Marine 57-footer that many of our alumni have worked on. So if you come to school, you get training, get into our industry, there are so many really fun, unique, cool boats that you get to work on. And this was one of them, so let's take a look. Okay, welcome back, Scallywags. We're down here on a very nice Northern Marine boat that Dave has so graciously offered up a little boat tour. So as part of our channel, the fun things that I get to do is along boat projects this year is we're doing some really cool side trips. We've got a video Radiant Star full tour that we did the engine startup. We've got a 40-foot electric catamaran, electric philosophy. We've got this expedition sailing boat over here, Polar Mist, and then your boat. And so, want to tell us a little bit about how you came in contact with Scallywags?
Sure, Mike, and thanks, and welcome. Glad you're here. So we bought this boat about 4 years ago, and it was a boat that Bud built, a Northern Marine. And we're freshwater boaters from Colorado. When we came out, we knew it was an older boat. It had some problems. We didn't know quite what we were getting into. But we knew right at first it had some electrical issues. There was the person who Bud built the boat for originally was an electrical engineer who had designed some systems that worked well when they were designed, but they had run their course in time and things needed to be replaced. And we figured that we needed to start from scratch. And again, not knowing what we were in for, it's good to have friends. And Bud introduced us to Mike, and Mike works with a bunch of students that he brings up to speed and helps them all the way from theory to implementation to troubleshooting and everything else. And so we felt that the right course of action was to turn it over to Mike and his team and rip out pretty much the electrical in the boat itself. And we were very, very fortunate because he put his students on board. We don't know about all the magic that they did, but we know what came out was a great system.
So yes, we got involved, and part of what we want to share is students that get into our industry and go out and work get to do some really fun stuff. And so this is an example. This boat has we'll put a little later in the video, it's got a beautiful stand-up walk-around engine room. That's the spaces that I'm interested in. I do love the galley and the wheelhouse up here. I mean, the boats are really put together well. You operate it with just your wife?
We do.
People?
Yeah, it's very easy to operate with two of us.
Yeah. And especially now you got the systems done, you know. So we've had students do electronics.
Yeah.
The shaft seal and hydraulic get-home coupler and stuff.
Yeah. Started out with batteries and inverters.
The batteries, inverters.
Right from square one. I'm sure that you talked about it with your students in class about the theory of what's it take to run a boat like this. You know, batteries to charging to distribution.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
So.
And it worked. And yes, it's an easy boat to operate with Cheryl and myself, and I think that's part of the design that goes into a Northern Marine, and Bud may talk about that later.
I'm sure we get this history tour, we actually have 5 Northern Marine boats in the marina, Cap Sandy right here, which are those of you that have seen like Black Pearl videos, we're just down the dock here. So 5 boats. Yeah, so 5 boats at least. They come and go. There's the Meander Northern Marine 80-footer. That's actually for sale. You could buy that one. And then we got this one, which did a 1,000-day circumnavigation and was just refit. It's for sale. Seattle Yachts. They're still building new Northern Marine boats too. They sold one this spring. There's another one in the shed. But this one's ready to go. Beautiful boat. And then there's Sound Endeavor, which is tied up right behind it. Another one that is getting some work done and hauled out, actually. So I wanted you to see the bottom of one of these boats, one of these expedition yachts. And so this one was at the end of town. This is actually at the Northern Marine facility where a lot of these boats were built. So active fin stabilization, thrusters, underwater exhaust, just really beautiful, well put together boats. And so we love our little town, and we love that Bud actually started the company here and have spent all those years, and they're still turning out these boats today in Anacortes. So lots of them come back for refit work or just as a landing place. And so, yeah. Northern Marine's got that stainless steel crest on the bow, all of them, that you can it's a signature that you can see. And there's the molds. Actually, they still have molds for all the different hulls they've done over the years, and in storage different places. These ones are shrink wrapped. So this is right next to the building where they're building a new boat. I don't know how big it is. We'll try to get in there and do a tour of the factory and see a brand new one being built after we get the tour today of Stillwater's. And there's a lot of them built, and so it's really symbiotic relationship, right? You bring your boat to Anacortes, or you're here in Anacortes, and you know that you've got help.
Right, and there's a lot of newfound interest in Northern Marine. It seems like, they were built right here in town. They've traveled the world, and a lot of them have come back because of this newfound interest in the company and the people that can work on them. And your team is part of that. And one of the team members that we rely on a lot is one of your students that went through your class. And Nathan has been a great help to us over the last 2 years, I would say.
He's on a Nordic tug right behind
Right
us.
across the street,
We're eating lunch and having fun and doing boat tours, and he's over there fixing something today.
Fixing white wipers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the cool thing is, though, that he learned enough to start a business, and he's doing very, very well at it too. Matter of fact, he's in very high demand now.
Very high demand.
He's got a lot going for him. He understands the diesel mechanic portion of it. He's very strong mechanically, and you taught him the electrical side of things, and he's
he was a quick study, and he knew tools when he showed up, and now he knows the whole start to finish of the trade.
So thanks to you, he's a great resource for us, and I know you're turning out lots of students like him. He turned his into a real profitable business, and I'm sure that's stars in other students.
It has. We've got a number of them around in Anacortes.
Yeah.
So. Well, let's do a quick little engine room tour, and then we'll come back, and Lazarette maybe, where all the batteries are. And we're going to come back and get Bud to tell us how this company actually was founded and what happened and when he and I first met. So. All right, well, here we are. Yeah, down in the engine room. In the engine room, Northern Marine 57. And this is a kind of a classic what you built and how they set these things up. And this is where my space, this is what I like. It's things that are engineered to be reliable, to be, efficient, and just that works, the kind of the best of what you could do in a boat. And so tell me a little bit about how you designed and what you thought when this was just on the drawing board before you
when I first started doing this was before I started Northern Marine. And if you notice, it's an asymmetrical design in that both generators are one side. We got workbench and stuff on the other side. At the time, I came up with this thought of putting both generators on one side. I did that. If you notice at the back of the engine room, it's kind of hard to say because he's got some stuff stored back there, but I've got two generators and one main engine, all exhaust dumping in the same area. So if you think about that for a minute, if this is your yacht, you have a quiet side. You can pull up to the dock with the starboard side, and I didn't learn till later in life that all big yachts dock starboard side only. Take a look at every big yacht, the main entrance is starboard side only. And so if you have a quiet side, you can pull up to the dock and there's no smells, no nothing. Mm-hmm. You can leave that generator running sitting at the dock and most people won't know it. The problem was when I first started this, I didn't know about the starboard side, so I did generators on the starboard side or bench on the port side.
Well, lifelong learners,
yeah,
right?
But when I did it, everybody thought I was the biggest fool in the industry because you have to have balance. You got to have a generator on both sides. You got to have symmetry and balance. I said, no, you got to do things that make sense. Yeah, so the exhaust is part of it. The other thing is all my fuel is over there, right? I've got a sea chest back there, so all the water comes in at one point. So that generator, exhaust, air conditioning, seawater, water maker, everything, all the seawater is in one point. And the reason I did that is I happened to be on a boat one day, and a boat got hit by lightning and it blew a through hull out of it. Well, when they haul the boat out, there's through hulls all over the bottom of it. I have one through hull.
You didn't know which one to close.
Yeah. And this is fiberglass. It's not a metal through hull, so you're not going to. The lightning storm is not going to blow it out.
Right. I was on a sinking boat a couple summers ago, and same thing. Like they were missing. They had a lot of through hulls they missed.
Yeah, and so no, you got to do that. With the generators, the two generators, if it like one's bigger than the other one, usually you have what we call a night generator, so low load, but then we have the bigger generator, which will take most of the load of the boat. If you got a galley that's electric, you got a water maker, an air conditioner, everything else, you need a generator big enough to do that. The problem with that bigger generator is if you don't load it up, it's not good for the engine. So we put the smaller ones in. Well, the big generator also has a hydraulic pump on it, which can run the roll stabilizers, can run the anchor winch, can run the deck crane, right? Can also run a little device back here called the take-home drive. So if this thing should fail,
right, this John Deere fail?
John Deere's don't fail, but if it does,
okay.
Yeah, if it does, right, we can engage that take-home drive back there, and that generator will run this boat at almost 6 knots.
Nice.
Almost 6 knots. Now I could teach you how to do it and guarantee you 6 knots, because a generator runs at 1,800 RPM.
Constant speed.
That's constant speed. That engine at 2,400 RPM, the generator manufacturer will allow that generator to spin at 2,400 RPM. You can't make electricity and hydraulics at the same time.
Right.
But so you shut the electric off, spin the RPM up, you get more horsepower, right? RPM. And
so if you did have to do hundreds of miles,
if you did have to go a little faster, you just take and tighten the screw up a little bit, put a tie wrap on it.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, and run it up a little bit. But I picked John Deere because I just haven't had any problems with John Deere. I'll put any engine in. I was a custom builder. I've got Cat, Detroit, Cummins, everything in.
If the owner said they wanted a Cat, by golly, you'd put a Cat in.
The Cat was in the boat. The Cat was in the boat.
It actually turns out when you build a custom yacht and you're paying the bills, you can do anything you want.
That's right.
But you were
unless you were going to make something that I thought really wasn't appropriate for the boat.
Sure, yeah. If it's going to drag your name down, you would.
Yeah,
no.
Because there were some generator manufacturers that I wouldn't do. In fact, this very boat didn't have a generator there when I built the boat. The owner, it wasn't that one. Dave's replaced it with the Northern Lights. Mm-hmm. But the generator that was there, I wouldn't put in because I wasn't a fond.
Didn't have the best experience with
I didn't have the best experience with them, so I wouldn't put it in. So he put it in after the fact.
So, this is lovely. I'm envious about the walk around. Easy to maintain. Great fuel management systems.
Yeah. This is the type of stuff you don't see in hardly very many boats. This is a regular truck muffler. So this engine, boats have noisy exhaust because most boats don't have an adequate a muffler system. Mm-hmm. This is a big cow truck muffler. And then we're still going underwater with the exhaust, but I'm getting as much noise out of it as I can before it gets there.
Turns out when you get larger boats, you have enough space to do some of those fun things.
Yes.
But you got all your electrical distribution here. Really put together. Nice rails.
I try to do things where systems are together. So if you got an electrical problem, you go to here. I've been on boats where you go here, you go there, you go there, right? I don't like that. I like to, when something isn't going right, you need to, know where to go.
Know where to go.
To fix it. Mm-hmm. The bigger boats, I've changed even prior to building this one, the fuel management system is about the size of this panel on the bigger boats. Yeah, but it's the same thing. You just know exactly where to go, and you make it intuitive so you don't have to take a manual out to figure out how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, beautiful.
And all these storage lockers here, you see they got fasteners in them. All these are nice little storage lockers for stuff.
Look at that, all labeled, right. Spare labeled, parts.
But this storage locker is not glued in there. This is a fuel tank on top of here. And so you take these screws out, you slide that box out, and you can get to everything on top of the storage locker. So
Not all boat builders actually think about long-term maintenance and access. And these boats, you can get at
have the access.
every point.
I've learned a long time ago. I've been fraught by this Murphy's Law. I don't know if you ever heard of Murphy's Law. Anything that can happen will happen. Well,
Usually at the worst possible time.
but no, it will only happen when you think that it might happen. Then it will happen. So I mean, I was worried about my batteries on my boat last year. I haven't done. I've serviced them all the time, but they're kind of old. If I would have went one more year without replacing them, I would have battery problems.
That's right.
Because once I start thinking about it, Murphy's Law is going to come in.
It's coming in.
To take over. I don't know if you notice on this one how clean the bilge is and everything. This boat here, you can what we call in.
What year is this boat?
What
year is this boat?
About 2000.
About 2000. So we're talking a boat that's 20
years old.
20 plus
23 years
years,
old.
23 years old. And the bilge, you could still
You can eat out of
you
bilge.
could drop sandwich in there. I'd pick it up and eat it tomorrow.
But I would go. My wife wouldn't like it because I would just get down to my skivvies, and I would go under here to clean up and everything else. It was easier to wash my body than the clothes when I was out on the boat. I used to use this boat all the time. The original owner let me use this boat all the time. But you could take the pan off this thing. You can rebuild this engine right here.
Oh, you do it in frame, major in frame overhaul in place
but
because you
if
can
you-
get underneath.
You can get under it. But if you can't, for some reason you broke the block, then when that piece broke loose, it came out the side. You take a couple of pieces off, it fits out that door and out the hatch.
Wow.
So I learned that from another boat I worked on years ago. They had, again, Murphy's Law. That boat didn't make it through sea trial. It wasn't anything I built.
Yeah.
I was at a repair yard. It didn't make it through sea trial before a main engine failed, and you had to cut a hole in the boat to get the engine out.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
When I worked in a shipyard, that was common practice. But,
Well, yeah.
but old steel boats is easy. Expedition yacht like this, I do not want to try and cut a hole in the side.
I do it.
Oh, you would.
I would.
You could. It's not inexpensive though.
No.
If you start with design, so if the next owner needs to
Yeah.
repower, they can take some stuff and get it out of here without a major bill.
Yeah. A guy put one of the boats I built. He wanted a German-built engine, a V8, or actually I think it was a V10, a V engine, and it would start on 4 cylinders and go to 8, right? And that transition where it went from 4 to 8 put a little vibration in the boat.
Uh-huh.
And it just happened to be in an area where he liked to cruise, so it'd go 8-4, 8-4, and they wouldn't come down and take that system out. And so he took the engine, the V8, out of the boat, sitting in this marina real close to this slip. He took the engine out, took it loose. I tied my boat up alongside. We took it over the T-dock. I brought my crane down. We slid it out the back, dropped the other engine in, put it back. The whole job was done sitting in the water.
That's what I did on my boat 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Yeah.
Took a V8 out and put a lugger in.
Of course, mine was a little baby engine.
Yeah,
But same concept. If
yeah,
it fits and
that
it's
was
designed
bigger
well.
than this. That was a 75-foot boat that they did that in.
Very
All done
cool.
sitting in the marina. And everything's set up. These boats are set like that sea chest. You can take that whole sea chest apart without pulling the boat out and clean everything on it. The valve on the bottom, that blue handle valve, if you look at that carefully, it's actually studs in the valve. The valve is threaded. It's called a blind service valve. So the valve will stay on the bottom flange, and you shut the valve off, take the whole top off. And I did that just for that reason.
Right. No, it's these boats will go anywhere on the planet, and you might be remote. So
And you might be to where someplace you're not going to get any help.
yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for.
I made every mistake you can make. So
Well, most of these things have turned out really, really well. So, well, we're going to go upstairs because I want the viewers to be able to hear the whole story of Northern Marine, from the get-go. So, turns out you've got a little bit more history you probably could tell us.
it was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. So you see the sea chest on that side, which you don't see on the other side. The same thing, the through haul craze that everybody went through. So you put air condition. Oh, it drive me nuts when I'm at a marina someplace with my boat or at an anchorage someplace, and they got the air conditioner running and water is peeing over the side
yeah.
all night long and landed into the water. I mean, you hear that all night long. especially if it's on your boat. Which
you got the windows open.
Which
it's a
my
beautiful
boat happens to have.
summer
right?
day. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I got a production boat. I couldn't afford one of my own boats, and so I didn't like that idea. So I put a dump chest in, so all the water goes out underwater, and so you don't hear any of that noise.
I like silent.
Noise was a big motivation. I didn't design this. I talked to Sound Down. I found the best noise abatement people I could find.
Yeah.
The mounts, the underwater exhaust, the way the scoop is underwater and everything, all for noise. I built boats that are literally what I learned the hard way. Some of the big boats I did were so quiet inside with a generator running. You don't hear the generator. If you look at this bulkhead right here, this is how thick this bulkhead is. There's a lot of sound abatement
Wow.
with lead and everything else in this bulkhead.
So once you lag that door shut.
This wall doesn't touch this wall. There's no structure so vibration can go through there. And so I learned that I didn't come up with this. I find people.
You find experts.
And so what happens, the downside of making a boat really quiet, now your ice maker's noisy. Your refrigerator
There's always
wakes you up at
something
night.
noisy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard a story of a guy's boat was so quiet that he blew off a starter motor because he tried to start the engine when it was already running.
That happens. And the big yachts, you have to look at the oil pressure gauge or something up there. So what I would do, you could not hear, even like the 95 Atlas we built, you can't hear that engine crank from the flybridge or the pilot house. You can't hear it from the flybridge. There's no controls on the flybridge.
You come down here and start it?
The smart money is to come the first time in the morning, come down here and start it. Then you can look at everything. I didn't do it on this boat, but all the bigger boats, you put chrome valve covers on because you can buy them. And the reason for the chrome valve cover isn't for the glitz. You come down here, you put your finger across it like that. If there's any oil, petroleum, antifreeze, oil, fuel, it will leave a little smudge. Now go find it.
Yeah.
Because you have something in here that's atomized.
Kind of the
in
white
here.
glove test. Yeah.
It's kind of like the white. That was easiest. That's what I told all my customers. That was the reason for the chrome. I didn't care about the glitz.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not a very glitzy guy. But
I don't know. You got a nice button-up
real,
shirt today. Come on.
For you, Mike. But no. So that's how my thought process worked. But again, you have to reach out to the smart people, and that's why this whole little boat building school thing works so great. I am so impressed with some of the kids that are coming out of this boat building school. The only problem I'm having right now, the biggest problem I'm having right now is I'm old.
Well, it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
My biggest problem is we need to turn out twice as many, turns out, as what we do.
Yeah. Because I just had a meeting with the mayor this morning, making sure they still endorse marine boat building, marine trades in this town, because I'm bringing in another little problem into this
project.
town. Another project.
Yeah, well, that's good. Excellent.
Which way we need more kids. We need more.
Yeah, we need more technicians.
People.
That's
we need more
without a
technicians.
doubt. So.
And there's some great places to work in.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. A lot of the stuff we get to do.
Well, it is. And what I would always tell my workers that you're building something that if you look at the population of the United States, you're building something that less than 1% of the people even get to touch.
Yeah.
And you're building it.
Involved in it.
You're
Servicing it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Everything.
You're involved in it. And you should be proud of what you've done.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, let's go upstairs.
Okay.
Now I'm going to shut this. Okay, so this is the lazarette. Starts with shore power coming in, isolation transformers, more of the storage, which is paramount. We've got batteries back in here. Got inverters, disconnect switches. We've got the steering gear, which is 2 complete systems. So if either one of them fails on the hydraulic steering, we're going to...
And you got the square on top of the shaft.
Yeah, and you can always put an emergency tiller on the square shaft and open this hatch. And
there's one in here someplace later.
Somebody could do that. We've got the boiler so we can keep the boat nice and warm.
You know how the emergency steering works. You put there's an arm here, something. See this pad here?
Yeah.
You just center it as close as you can. You just go. You steer with the bow thruster.
And then steer with the bow thruster, you just hold it. Yeah.
Yeah, it will steer it just a little bit. I learned that the hard way. With Buzz Lightspeed, Bill Unders.
I'm gonna go through this. Well, I'll finish up with that. Yeah. All right, hold on. Over here, we got the water maker system, more boiler, all this stuff. There's the tube for RO. We got, I mean, just a nice use of a space, but enough space that it's not crowded.
A lot of storage still.
And then in here, so the get home steering, if both systems 1 and 2 did fail, you put the arm on here, and there's pad eyes built in. Bud was just showing us over here, and you just tie the tiller off, and you can actually just steer the boat with a hydraulic bow thruster. It's plenty powerful, but you have to keep that rudder
Keep the rudder so the boat basically
as close as you could. So super nice use of space back in here.
All right, well, that was a cool engine room tour. It's my favorite place, machinery and electrical, as you know.
Yes.
But Bud, thanks for coming down here, and you have shared the story. When did you and I meet, actually?
Well, I started the company, I opened the doors July 5th, 1995, so it was after that.
After that.
Not
Well, I
too
started
long
teaching
after
in 2000, and so I'm
Sure.
guessing about 01 maybe?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. And
Wes, who you know,
Wes, yeah.
Wes, who you know, was my HR guy, and we would take what we did, take the show on the road. We'd
And why
take
did you-
models into the school and try to get the whole idea was to get the kids in the shop classes. I didn't really care about English and math at the time, but the shop classes inspired about building boats. I'm looking for my next generation of boat builders, and so I did whatever I could to try to inspire the kids.
Yeah. And it
It
worked.
seemed to work.
It seemed to work. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Great kids.
and then we
Great
also,
kids.
not only did you bring the show to us, you'd open up the factory.
Oh yes.
And we would go tour, and they would see these giant boats, beautiful boats being built, start to finish. And so that, I think that's what,
By
inspires
2000, I
young
was
people.
building a little bit bigger stuff then. So yeah,
Yeah. What was the biggest you rolled out of the door?
152 foot.
152. Yeah. I think my friend Mike helped on one of those.
Yes, he did.
Fuse. Yeah, early on in Fuser in those big hulls.
And the other electrical guy you had as a teacher, I can't remember his name right now,
Went
but
through a lot of them.
yeah, he helped also.
Yeah.
So they weren't teaching; they were down at my shop working.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Larry. The mechanical guy.
Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are in this little town. Why'd you pick Anacortes to start a boat building facility?
Well, I lived in South Seattle, a little area called Redondo, Washington, and I went to Tacoma. My wife, we built our house there. She kind of wanted to stay there. I went to Tacoma to find a place where I could find a building to rent to build a place. I could not find anything. And where I worked, the company I worked for, owned some buildings up here in Anacortes, and so they made me a deal
A deal.
where I could take a 20,000 square foot building and rent 25%. Then as I grew, 50%, 75%, then 100% of it.
So you could grow into it.
I could grow into it. Well, it didn't take too long to grow into the first 20,000 square foot building. Then I rented the second 20,000 square foot building from them. Before long, I had a
So
118,000 square
it
foot.
turns out you started building boats when you were young.
Well, I was really young, and I was very shy, as you can tell. I'm a very shy person. Backwards bashful, innocent, shy, naive. And my parents moved from our location where I was born and raised in Tacoma to South Seattle. And my dad, being a mechanic, brand new house, decided to go and buy some wood stuff so he could build some wooden parts for the house. It was going to be curtain balances. And there was a kiosk there from Douglas Fir Plywood Association boat plans.
Mm-hmm.
About 75 cents a piece. So I played in the kiosk. I found an 8-foot pram, and I bought the 75-cent plans and the 3 sheets of plywood. 1 sheet of 3/4 and two sheets of 1/4 inch plywood and a couple of pieces of scrap wood. You could build an 8-foot pram. And so that winter I built that 8-foot pram.
That's how it starts.
That's
I
how it
think
all
I've
started.
done that in my garage myself.
Yeah, that's
so.
how it all started.
And then what was the first Northern Marine boat up here in Anacortes?
The first
What was
Northern
design?
Marine boat, what happened, when I decided to leave the company I was working at, which I was there for 23 years, I decided to leave because I realized I had the wrong last name. And so I decided I'm going to leave and start my own business. And I was going to start boat repair business. I really wanted to get into boat repair. I saw a lot of things that some of the boat builders were doing that I wasn't real fond of, and I thought I could help in that arena. And the day I made my announcement was the day we launched a 130-footer called the CV9 at that location. I made my announcement to everybody that day at the launching party. That night, I got a telephone call from a guy that I had built a yacht for previously, a 70-foot expedition yacht. And he had a little incident up in Alaska where the boat sunk.
That seems more than a little incident, but okay.
Yeah, it's an incident.
It
The
happens.
boat sunk. Bad deal, you know. And then, so he called me up, and I knew he was dealing with Nordhaven. That he designed with Nordhaven the 57-foot Nordhaven. And he called me up that night, and I knew he was dealing with that because I already saw the drawings and stuff on it. He called me up that night, and he asked me if it was true that I quit. And I said, yes. He said, Bud, I will buy your first boat. We didn't even talk about what it was.
Just the first boat.
I will buy your first boat. You figure out, here's what I want. And so we sat down, had a conversation about what size he wanted, which was 57 foot because of Nordhaven, and everything else. Before it got all done, it becomes 62 because, well, we got to add a little here and a little here and a little here. That's boat building. And yeah, he bought the first boat. And it didn't take long at all before I sold boat number 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. Well, and so I have that little clip of the 5 boats that are sitting here. So
Yes.
primarily expedition style, long range, around the world.
Well, that's what I started to build because I believed in the boat. I believed in that style of boat. It makes sense. You don't have to go around the world. It's just like certain sailboats. They have some higher speed, quote unquote, cruising / racing sailboats. You can cruise faster without having a problem. You don't have to go around the world. But it's a very, very quiet, comfortable ride and very fuel efficient. And so I believed in the product. But to answer your question, did I start Northern Marine to build expedition boats? Yes and no. I did because that's what I had a contract for.
We also have a strong suit in systems.
Well, I was a big systems guy.
Yeah, so
I
that's-
designed a lot of systems. But early on, I decided I'm a boat builder. You walk through the door and you want something else built, I will build it. I built a 38-foot sailboat for a guy.
Well,
that
that's also you enjoy challenges
I love
as well,
challenges.
right? You're not just doing a cookie cutter.
I
build 50 of these one boat. No, you were.
I
custom.
can't do. Before I went to work building boats, I actually had a really good job. I got out of high school. I was building wind tunnel test models for a little Boeing, a little airplane company in Seattle.
Yeah.
That was an elite little group of
That
people.
probably paid more than going to the boat industry.
Oh gosh, yes. And it was this elite little industry, the elite little group of people, and I got into it through an ad in the paper where I went down and sat for a school, and they had 17 people in the class, and they hired the top person in the class. So the instructor basically, they're giving you all these things to do.
That's an interview.
And that's all it really is. Who has the ability to do it? Well, I got hired out of the 17 people, and I was like 20 years old or whatever I was, 19, 20 years old. And I go to this great work opportunity. Well, in 1972-ish, 71, whatever, Boeing kind of took a nosedive. They took a big nosedive, had a lot of layoffs, and the model shop, which was an overhead, strictly overhead, they put a surplus section on. We're going to slow the model shop down, and so it's kind of interesting. The list of employees in this shop filled one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Right, that's how many employees there were, and so they started with the oldest guy on the top and the newest guy on the bottom. And I was part way up. I was about 25% up. And what they would do when they started, and they let everybody know we have to lay people off, they just start, and the paper was at the tool room, they cross the line up. Well, your time to go, your time to go. it
Got
got
your
to,
walking papers.
yeah, it got to my name, and it skipped and went up, and so they didn't cross my name off. So I go up and talk to Marshall Bean, was the supervisor. I go, oh, hey, you guys made a mistake, right? No, he said, we can put a retention on a small percentage of the people. We want to retain you here. And so I think it's a 90-day retention or whatever. Well, yeah, that day comes and, the time passes. And he takes me up to the office and says, well, you have to go now. and I understood. But he said you could take a layoff, and you get paid layoff. You get paid to or you go to 7. The only thing that Boeing had going was a 747 production. Was starting up, was going. So I'll go to work. I'm a worker, so I'll go to production. But he said, whatever you do, you don't take a pay increase because that changes your status as far as on the list.
No list.
And so I said, I'm a single guy. I'm making more money than the production workers now. I really didn't need to take a pay increase. And so I go up there, and then on a Friday, I get a call from the model shop that, hey, we're trying to get you back, but you took a pay increase. I said, I'll bring you down my page stuff. I never even talked to anybody about a raise. Saturday, they wanted me to work. So I go in on Saturday. I'm leaving at noon on Saturday. And because I worked a deal with the supervisor, I'm only going to work a half a day. They always wanted me to work weekends. And the guy comes out in his 3-piece suit, taller than me. And I'll never forget this. The guy asked me where I'm going. I says, I'm going to go home. I was only going to work a half a day. What are you going to do? Yeah, I'm going to go work on my boat. The guy thumped me on the chest. And he said, this is your boat. You don't have this job. You don't have that boat. And I said, well, who are you? He said, I'm the general manager of this facility. Well, you must be the guy keeping me from going back to the model shop. Mr. Lemiux. Just like that. His whole demeanor changed. Oh, no, you need to stay here. They really wanted me to stay there. You need to stay here. This is where it's at. So now I don't get to go back to the model shop. I'm done, right? They already screwed that up. But they had to give me the retroactive pay because he said I had got a raise, plus the raise. Which was, I'm making more money than the supervisors up there now. So, but it wasn't anything I liked. You mentioned a challenge. I love a challenge. Production, the challenge is awesome in production until you have it worked out. You're challenging yourself how fast you can do this. And how, they built a 747 every 3 days. One left the playing field. And so you got 3 days to learn this job. Then I want to prove it, improve it, do what I can. After you got there, you're done. Okay, now what do I do? Where's the challenge? There's no more challenge. And so I would move around the company up there to do things. And so I left. I quit that job, making stupid money, to go sweep floors in a boatyard.
Yeah.
So I'm sweeping floors. And it didn't take long before I was a planking boss building wood marlineers, really high-end custom wood boats. And then that place burnt down somebody torched that on a Sunday. The competition. They torched that. And so I went to Delta Marine in South Seattle, and they hired me.
Then you split off. Okay, so
but Northern Marine, that was something that was kind of always in the back of my head, doing something again. I liked repair. I liked the idea of the repair work, but new construction is really, really hard to beat because it gives you a chance to go in there and say, okay, I see how everybody else is doing, but I think this would be a better way to do it. And what really I like more than anything is networking with people. This gentleman here, Mike Beamer, he can tell you how many times I've bugged him about different things, right? I mean, I don't go up to tell him how smart I am. I go up to tell him how smart he is because I need his help. He don't need me.
Yeah, you are an expert at surrounding yourself with people who knew their game.
I want everybody.
You have a need, and you're like, who in this town can solve that problem?
I want everybody around me smarter than me, and that's what I also did for my crew. I wanted to help them, boost them up, and everything else. Because you don't hire somebody so you can fire him. You hire somebody so you can make him great, and that was my attitude of life. And it worked out. It worked out
great. So
it worked out.
They're still building these boats today.
They're still building some today, and I'm actually helping them right now. We're trying to make kind of a paradigm shift right now on some stuff with them. And so no, I've kind of got back involved as much as my wife hates it.
Before you got out of the business, how many boats had Northern Marine built?
Northern Marine,
or you probably know exactly.
well, about I delivered, I think about 30 boats, just under right. I think 29 boats that I delivered, between 29 and 30 boats that I delivered. But I had 6 more that I had sold before I sold the company. So that's almost, that's 30 some boats, that almost 40 boats that I sold, and then, but some are already delivered.
Delivered, sure.
And some of them, and I tell you what, I get my whole crew together a lot to explain to them that they're building these boats, not me, and these are world-class boats. We had several award-winning boats.
I saw.
One of them is in the harbor right now.
Yeah, there's a stack of these little awards here that you showed off. So
yeah, the International Super Yacht Society, which is a European event, that is the Golden Globes of boat building. The trophy looked like
was that
a Golden Globe.
152 or
What's that?
Which boat was that?
The 80-footer that's in the harbor here, the Meander.
Oh, the Meander, right over here.
The Meander was the top 5 in the world, and the Magic was the top 5 in the world. The 152 was the top 5 in the world, and so these. What it is, everything over 80 foot, and there's only 4 categories. When I was doing it, there's 4 categories: 80 to 125, 125 to 150, 150 to nuts, and sailboats. Only 4, 4 categories. Yeah. And so all the boats over 80 foot in the different categories got nominated any place in the world. Being a European event, nobody in the U.S. ever won it. But being the top 5 to me was monumental.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it was very monumental. And to have, because it's designed, it's quality, there's a whole lot of aspects of it. And it was quite a party. I mean, you go to the party, and it was a pretty good party.
Yeah.
Another boat was number 1 in the world for Showboats International. That one, for its class, it was number 1 in the world. That party, that's right. I built the boat, delivered the boat, and then the award came after I sold the company, and the new buyer of the company convinced my wife that you don't want to go there. I was going to take her over there to accept the award. Oh, you don't want to go there. It's nothing. Well, it is in Monaco. It turned out to be in the Princess Palace. They wanted to go, and they didn't want me to go, but it's okay. I got the award.
You got the award. And then, of course, it's hard to, this is awesome to get a few of your stories and get you on camera, because a lot of my students, you come in and talk still every time we can, but they don't all get to catch it. So you did write a little book about... plug your book if anybody wants to.
This book, I wrote this book. This is actually the second one I wrote. The first one was just kind of a snippet because people would hear the story and they wanted me to write it down. This one is more of a book, and it's in color, by the way. The pictures are in color.
I've got the first edition, which is not in color.
Yeah, it's in color. But I actually wrote this book to inspire people. My theory has always been, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm nobody special. And so I wrote this to inspire people to kind of look out of the box a little bit and take that chance and step out.
That's a good story. So it's the road of a boat builder, start to end.
I should put another chapter in it. I should
put a start story. But...
I should put another chapter in it because I don't know, around here, you drive by different storage yards, like there's one down by Everett that looks like that's where boats go to die. Mm-hmm. Well, they bring it to me to send them to heaven. It says Jesus. I'm the guy that destroys the boats up here.
You are still involved big time. You're on my technical advisory committee, and you were always helping the community and build things. So I know there's still more chapters that'll have to be.
Well, yeah, I'm working with the Waterfront Alliance right now, and of course AWA, and of course Waterfront Alliance, to try to help them with a little project so they get. I got a little piece of waterfront down there where they can launch their kayaks and stuff like that. I'm trying to help them out. I really...
The community does appreciate you and all you've done. And
I really like the community.
Here, so.
I really like the community. But I tell you what I like, and this is partly your fault, because I've done some of the mock interviews and stuff like that. I've listened to some of these kids. I've interviewed some of these kids, and I'm a tough interviewer. I'm going to ask you some tough questions and stuff like that. And some of your kids come through with flying colors. In fact, this last summer, I hired made one of them one of my minions.
There you are.
And the guy is awesome. The kid's 16 years old, and he's awesome.
That's
he
what we
is
do.
awesome.
There's a lot of talent in young people.
There
Young
is
people get a bad rap.
There is a lot of talent.
Yeah.
A lot of untapped talent, I think.
I think so.
And I think, and whether I know I hate to admit it to you, but a lot of that comes from you. Because
not just me. It's all the staff and the school, and like that's our mission. That's what we do. So,
it is doing an awesome job. It really is.
well, thank you much for giving us a little interview and a tour of this boat and stuff like that. And we'll definitely keep following the story.
Yeah.
So,
It's not much of a story, but it is a story.
it's a good story. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Okay.